Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So, taking a fun and exciting video for you guys today because Srg320, the developer of the Sega Saturn core and the developer of the 3DO core, along with many other things of MiSTer FPGA, rolled up on Friday and basically tossed everyone a weekend gift unannounced with nobody knowing he was working on it whatsoever. That is because now there is a beta Psikyo SH2 arcade core for MiSTer FPGA. If that doesn't sound familiar, Psikyo was an arcade developer that would make their own hardware, one of those smaller companies that decided they could do it for themselves, and now we have a beta core that's basically playing almost every single game. There's a little audio issue here and there, and I will definitely point out the games where you might want a headphone warning, but otherwise I love that Srg320 just basically showed up and said, hey, I've been working on this thing, go have fun with it, unannounced with no previews whatsoever. And if you've never played any of these games before, I'll go over which ones we're playing and recommend them to you. And I will say right off the top, I would turn the core volume down maybe one click. It is still a little bit hot depending on what speakers or headphones you're using. But right off the top, we're playing The Fallen Angels, a very interesting fighting game from Psikyo. It has some incredible animations and some really fun pre-rendered backgrounds, some of which will actually fly into the screen. You saw that table kind of go across the stage at the beginning of the fight, and this is one that barely anyone knows exists. It is a fun time, and considering we've been getting a lot of fighting game cores on MiSTer FPGA recently with the Capcom CPS III core from Jotego as well, it really is fun to have something like this. And I've definitely played this game more than once, and I will say the visuals are what I expect. The control input is perfection. There isn't any latency in it whatsoever. The only issue is the sound effects are coming in a little bit hot and scratchy, almost like the volume on the sound hardware side of things needs to be brought down a tiny bit, but it's not going to affect your enjoyment of the game. But I am curious how many people even knew that The Fallen Angels was a game, because I feel like this one is definitely the deepest of deep cuts when it comes to fighting games. Kind of plays a little bit like a cross between Street Fighter 3 as well as an SNK fighting game, because it uses a 4-button input style, not 6 like on the Capcom side. And it is one of those titles that barely got noticed when it released, and a lot of the PCBs were actually converted over into Space Bomber, because this game just did not do well in arcade floors whatsoever. But now as of today, SRG has that beta core out, and it is linked in the description below. You'll have to install the core as well as the MRA files and your own game files, because right now this one isn't going to be on update all, but I will tell you in the future when it is. Now moving over to Gunbird 2, I would probably say this is by default the best game on the Psikyo SH2, unless you are a Tetris fan. And if you're wondering, yes, the Grandmaster does run and it does play, but I've heard multiple instances of people actually having issues putting footage of that on YouTube because of the Tetris company, so I want nothing to do with that. Honestly, I'm also not the hugest Tetris fan. That would be something that would be Mrs. Esoterica's domain. But Gunbird 2, straight up 10 out of 10 shmup, so much fun, and honestly, it's great to have it here on MiSTer FPGA. And don't forget, Gunbird 2 did come out on Dreamcast, but of course we don't actually have a Dreamcast FPGA core. It is kind of the brass ring of future hardware in people's minds, and it did get ported to modern consoles, but before this, there really wasn't any way to play it on MiSTer. And honestly, Gunbird 2 is just a vibe. From the kind of western theming going on to the overall bullet patterns, it really is a metric ton of fun. Now, fair warning, just if you're going to play this game, turn your volume down to 0, take your headphones off because the audio is highly corrupted and way too loud. Now again, this is very early, so that is to be expected, and it's not a knock on Srg320 whatsoever. The fact that it runs this well is 10 out of 10 impressive, and honestly, on the video and overall logic side of things, it seems to be perfect, and I'm sure that's because Srg320 basically did all the Hitachi SH2 development for Sega Saturn, and that's just something that can be brought into this core. But if you're going to play Gunbird 2, just turn your volume off, and if you really want to hear what it sounds like, start inching it up ever so slightly. But for a soundtrack sample that is going to be good, we're going to move over to Space Bomber, a straight up 10 out of 10 weird vibe of a game that I'm sure you've never played before, and you absolutely have to play, if not for yourself, then for Video Game Esoterica, your best friend on this YouTube platform. Here's the audio, and I'll be right back with more. Now, observationally, I don't know what is more disconcerting, the fact that you're fighting a sentient trash can or the fact that the Twin Towers are in the background with smoke rising up behind them. But this game was made before that actually happened, so it's one of those things. It's a little bit of a weird vibe, but it is just Space Bomber. And obviously that audio seemed to have a little bit of a weirdness thing going on in the stereo separation. It's something that I could fix in post, but I want you to hear what the audio currently sounds like. And when I say Space Bomber is a very weird vibe, I 100% mean it. But take it from me, just give this one a shot and you'll definitely have a lot of fun. But I'm moving back to Gunbird 2 because I don't need to use it for the audio sample, because trust me, you don't currently want to hear it. This game, as far as its performance is concerned, is just straight up amazing. There really isn't anything to point at in the visuals and in the actual control that would be any sort of problem whatsoever. So really that just seems like Srg320 needs to re-implement the audio or kind of clean up the code. And again, I don't want anyone to think that me saying it's not working well is some sort of strike against the core. This is still just the first draft, and dude just showed up, shadow dropped it, and said, have fun with it over the weekend. I mean, he didn't actually write that, I'm just paraphrasing, but it just kind of popped out of nowhere. And that really is amazing, because in the last couple of years, Srg320 has the Sega Saturn core, the Work in Progress 3DO core, and now a Psikyo SH2 core. And that really is impressive, just how much stuff this guy gets done on any given year, and absolutely benefits the community. And even though these are games that do emulate well, it's so fun to have an FPGA core to play these things on my PVM. It really just is an absolute vibe. If you've noticed, I'm not as good at shmups today as I normally am. That is because we had a big thunder and lightning storm on Wednesday. So what did I do? I unplugged my computer and basically kept it safe. What happened after I plugged it back in? Well, one of my monitors, my actual playback monitor, just refused to turn on. So I had to play all of this footage through the actual Elgato capture window, which has way too much latency to actually play. So the fact that I'm even doing okay at this point in time is a testament to me knowing the games, because I probably had like half a second of lag in my controls. But of course I tested it on my OLED TV and my PVM, and there is zero latency outside of the capture in and of itself. Now moving over to Striker's 1945-3, both this as well as 1945-2 are working pretty well as well. Again, the audio is going to be a little bit off, but for the most part, you'd be hard-pressed to tell if you hadn't played the game recently. And this board just has a ton of fun shmups on it. It's really one of those things that if you like the genre, you're probably aware of the hardware, and if you're not into it, maybe you've never heard of it before. But if you are a Tetris fan, then having the Grandmaster is going to be an absolute huge thing for everyone on MiSTer FPGA. And again, one of the things I would have loved to show in footage of it, but it gets a little bit dicey, and I really don't feel like dealing with that just for some Tetris captures. And again, I'm not very good at it, so you really wouldn't be seeing much Grandmaster play from me. I'm mostly an amateur at the best day, and basically terrible at it on my worst day. Let's do one more soundtrack sample so you can hear the audio quality here, and I'll be right back with just a little bit more. Now my guess would be, because this is a Yamaha sound chip and it's an OPL4, is that isn't implemented 100% in the code, because there really isn't anything, at least on my memory on MiSTer FPGA, that would use that. Now I could have checked, but I just like to presume on these things, and if you guys know any different, you can leave me a comment down below. But because it is OPL4, and I don't have any other cores in mind that are actually using that, I'm sure it's just a situation where that code is not finished, and there probably needs to be some logic analysis of the actual chip to make sure it's doing everything it needs to, because it is both an FM synth chip as well as a sample-based chip, and it really does have some good audio. But honestly, for a first draft, Srg320 100% grand slammed the ever-loving shit out of this one, folks. Getting something like this running so well off the first draft is impressive, because when you're playing the games, if you didn't listen to the audio, you'd have no idea that this core was anything other than buttoned up, perfect, and ready to ship. So if you want to play this one, the link is in the description below. No, it's not on update all yet, but I'm sure it will be shortly. But short of that, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. And trust me, play Space Bomber. Bye-bye.